Hello Glastonbury. I just wanted to do that, so it's fine. My name's Jafar Iqbal. I'm going to tell you a story that is about honesty, about lies. But I do want to say before anything else that the story is 100% true, no matter what you might think of it. Everything happened. It happened to me. So just know that. We'll play a little game beforehand. Thank you. We'll play a little game beforehand, just to see what comes out of it. Just cheer or raise your hands if you've lied in the last year. So everyone, basically. This month? This week? Last 24 hours? Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Yeah, that's fair. Okay. Like I say, this is 100% true. And the story is for three characters. There's me, there's Chris, and there's Sarah. Now, we'll get on to Chris and Sarah later on. But I want to talk about myself first. Who here has ever been lonely? Ever? Okay, it's pretty much everyone. Who's feeling lonely right now? So, I suffer from loneliness, and I've had loneliness forever. Now, I want to kind of make this clear. I love being lonely. I love my own company. I love coming home and there not being anyone there. I can just be in my boxers, watch Netflix, and I love that. And I could spend my entire weekend just doing that. It's not a problem. Do you ever get that feeling has that ever happened to you when, like, you're watching Netflix and you're binging on a TV show and you fall asleep and you wake up and you've got like your own drool on your face? Has that ever happened? Yeah. I love that feeling, and it's great. It's that pleasure of being with yourself, and I do enjoy that. But loneliness is something completely different. As it says on the slide, loneliness is unwanted solitude. It's the absence of identification, or understanding, or compassion, or it's feeling isolated from other people. Loneliness is me walking down Queen Street and feeling like I don't have a friend in the world, or it's being in a place like this and being surrounded by people who might know who I am, and me not feeling like I have a friend, or me going to a social gathering and wanting to go be anywhere else because I just can't handle it. It's a very stifling feeling. It's a very horrible feeling, and it's not something that I wish on anyone, really. It kind of started from when I was younger. I mean, I've had it forever, but I kind of feel like, looking back on it in hindsight, I've had loneliness my entire life. And I don't know how we can see. These are pictures of me as a child, kind of to illustrate that I had a pretty decent childhood apart from the dress. I know I had a really good childhood. My parents were lovely. My sister's here today. She's come from London. I have a very great family. But my childhood was very much, it was quite sheltered. It was very much homeschool. I never really hung out with my friends after school. I never really hung out with my friends on the weekend. I grew up in a world where the idea was that your family were your friends. You didn't need to have other friends. You did what every other South Asian boy did back in the 90s, which was you went to school, you got good grades, you went to mosque and you read the Quran, and you probably played cricket if you were a boy, and that's what you did. And I did that, and I was great at all of those things, but it was very lonely because I didn't really have friends who I could connect to. Now, and another thing was that I probably didn't speak to a girl that wasn't my cousin until I was like 18. So it was just, dating wasn't a thing, having a girlfriend wasn't a thing. A very, very sheltered childhood. I was about 16 when I first discovered online chat rooms. So it's kind of like the late 90s, early 2000s. The internet was still really new. And it was this kind of brave new thing, and like it was all very exciting, and like you could talk to people from across the world, and it was unbelievable. And I remember the very first conversation I ever had with anybody online was this 13-year-old boy called Corey who was from America somewhere, and I was like, I'm talking to someone from America. It's incredible, and it's instant, and it was wonderful. But we'll get to that later. I then went to uni. And uni was great because it was completely different to anything I'd ever experienced at home. And it was kind of a bit of a culture shock. And kind of these are with me and my friends, and this was me looking so beautiful so many years ago. University was brilliant because I was able to express myself. And I've always kind of been into the arts, I've always been into writing, and I never really got to do that at home. But when I went to university, and suddenly I was surrounded by all these people who didn't care who I was in the best possible way. Like, they didn't care what religion I was, what my skin color was, what I wanted to do in life. They just accepted me for who I was, and that was absolutely amazing. And I was surrounded by actors and dancers and writers, and it was brilliant. And I made some of my best friends there, as we all do at university. And as great as that was, the problem was that I would see my friends and they would have these aspirations to be actors and to have these aspirations to be these incredible theatre people and whatnot. And they had the support of their families and they had the support of their communities, and I didn't have that. And so I would look at these people and be like, wow, they're amazing, and look how great they're doing that. And I want to do that, but why isn't it happening for me? And so it was very, I would resent them. And it was sad. It was lonely, So being a child was lonely, and then being a young person was lonely. I then came home back to London. So from London, went to Leeds University, came back, and I moved back home to do my masters. And so I was back home, and suddenly everything it kind of just went back to normal again. And I was back being this person living at home, and I had. The same thing where I didn't really have a lot of friends, and I was just doing my own thing and trying to be an artist, but not really getting the support from anywhere. And so, I couldn't connect with my family. I couldn't connect with what few friends I had. I couldn't connect with my peers. It was all just really lonely. And what started to happen was that I started to resent myself. And I started to hate being Asian. I started to hate who I was, my identity. I started to question my religion. I started to question what actually religion and culture and identity gave to me, because I didn't feel like I had one. Funnily enough, to this day, my family don't actually call me by my real name. They call me Munna, which means baby in Urdu. And I've got cousins who are like 3 years old who call me that, and which is nice in its own sense, but it's two different identities, and kind of having to kind of work through that was really difficult. So I had all of this resentment, and I just really just wanted to just not be myself. And I'm sure it's a feeling that we all go through, and I didn't know what to do, and it was making me really depressed. And so I just thought, look, what can I do to become somebody else? And is there anything I can do? And that's kind of what I did. So this is where Chris enters the story. Now, Chris and I went to uni at the same time. And Chris was intelligent, he was funny, he was charming, he was sensitive, he was opinionated, he was handsome, he was white. He was the product of a single parent. His dad had left when he was, I think he was like 10 or 11 when his dad left. Again, also an artist, loved to act. He was a writer, he was a poet. He never really showed people his work, but he, just one of those, again, just an artist trying to make it. One of the things that I really remember about Chris was him telling me that his favorite color was purple, and the reason his favorite color was purple was because when his dad left, his dad's car's color was purple, and so that's the only sort of memory he has of his dad. So whenever he sees purple, it reminds him of his dad, and that's just that kind of memory he has. Now, all of that is bullshit. because I invented Chris. And all of that stuff I said about his dad, all that stuff about his mum, that's all right. I mean, I literally just came up with that on the spot right now. He was a figment of my imagination. And I created him because he was everything that I thought I needed to be accepted in the world. All of those qualities are things that I wanted. And he had all of those, and on top of that, he was white as well, which I wasn't. And being white obviously makes you better than everybody else. That's just the rules. So I gave him this identity, and then I needed a face to match this incredible person that he was. So I went on Facebook, and I found a friend from uni who was not obviously handsome, because that's too, you'll get caught out. So he was like realistically handsome, just the right kind of handsome to be like, yeah, he's real. And I used this person's pictures. And I went on to these online chat rooms, and I became Chris. And it was amazing. He was a hit, and people loved him, and he was funny, and he was great, and he had this incredible life. And it's so easy to create a character, whether you're a storyteller, whether you are just coming up with ideas. It's so easy to just come up with things to flesh somebody out. And I could do that, and I could go and talk to people and just mold him so that he fit whatever persona I needed him to fit that day. Whatever the conversation was that day, I could make Chris be part of that conversation somehow. It's that easy, and it can just be done on the spot. So I used to go into these chat rooms, and I used to just go and just meet these incredible people, like-minded people who understood me, and people who would talk about the things that I wanted to talk about, and people who wanted to have conversations about film and music and TV and theatre and everything else that I wasn't getting anywhere else. And it was absolutely incredible. But it wasn't me. And I kept up this persona from about 20 to about 22. And then on the other side, I was also still being me. And I was still trying to make it into this crazy world called the arts, while also having this backlash from my family and my community who didn't understand what I wanted to do. And it was really hard. And this was my respite. Now, things sort of took a turn when I came across Sarah. Sarah's real, by the way. So Sarah was from Michigan in America, and she was also, I think she was like 19 at the time. And she was incredible. She was, I guess, like Chris. She was funny, and she was charming, and she was attractive, and she was sexy, and she was just, we connected straight away. And obviously this is on chat rooms, but if any of you have ever used chat rooms, you can learn a lot about someone just for talking to them online. And we hit it off straight away. And I remember the first conversation, the first thing she ever messaged me, she just said, for no reason, she just mentioned to me, "What's your opinion on Dadaism?" I have no opinion on Dadaism, so I must have given her some really stupid comment back. But it was banter, I mean that horrible word, but it was banter, and we hit it off. And it developed into a really proper friendship. And we would talk every day, so I've started on the chat rooms, and then it went to MSN Messenger, for those who remember MSN Messenger. And we would talk every day, and I couldn't tell you what we talked about. We talked every day, and she was like a daily part of my life. And so when you think about the friends you have now, and you'll just wake up and you'll just message them, and then throughout the day you'll just message them about random stuff. That's what we were doing. But she was talking to Chris, so I was just coming up with this daily life for Chris that I couldn't tell you. I don't really know what these conversations were, but they were happening. And there was playful flirting and stuff like that, but it never really got further than that. There was no malice in what I was doing. She never questioned me about who I was, whether she believed me or not, I don't know. It's just, we were kind of in this happy place, and she was like one of my best friends and the closest friend I had for about 6 months, and I couldn't imagine my life without her, and she said just the same thing about me. That all changed just one day, and obviously there's always a but. And I remember it was actually, it was a weekend in April. I remember it was a weekend in April because I'm an Arsenal fan in the football, and there was a big match that weekend, so I just remember that was the big thing that weekend. And as usual, I was talking to her, and we were just sitting down. I had my laptop, and I was just chatting to her and just talking about whatever. And then out of nowhere, she just says to me, "I want to see your face." And I said, "Well, you already know my face, because it was on the profile picture and stuff." And she's like, "No," she's like, I want to see your face because I think I'm falling in love with you, but I need to see your face." And I remember just staring at the screen for, I don't know how long, it must have been seconds, but it felt like hours, just staring at this message and not knowing what to do, not knowing how to respond. And it was like, do you know how, like, you read fairy tales, you read like Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, like abracadabra and like, open sesame, and it was like those three magic words, like I love you. And it suddenly felt like this thing had just burst, and I was naked, and I'd just been exposed to the world. And I don't know if I had thought it before then, but in that very moment, I suddenly realized just what a horrible thing I was doing. And it all just struck me at once. And I've done what was probably worse than that. And without responding to her, without saying anything, I just blocked her and I deleted her and never spoke to her again. And to this day, I've never spoken to her again. I don't know where she is, what she's doing, anything. And that was a knee-jerk reaction, and it was a horrible thing to do. But it was something that at the time I felt like I needed to do, and I just decided that was it, never again. And then I never went back on the chat rooms as a catfish. That's what we're going to call it. And I've realized that for the first time that my fictional actions had genuine, real-world consequences, and it hit me like a ton of bricks, and it's probably the worst and the loneliest I've ever felt in my entire life. And it's funny because it's something that I'm still ashamed of, and it's something that I regret more than anything that I've ever done, and it's a story that I don't share with people until now. It's a story that I was going to take to my grave forever, because I thought if people knew this about me, they would hate me, and people should hate me. I kind of, to an extent, hate myself for it, because it's a horrible thing to do. But instead, I decided to tell it to a whole room of strangers, but that's good. What that made me realize, though, two good things came of it. The first was that, like I said, I never went back onto these chat rooms as Chris. But I did go back onto the chat rooms as myself. I don't know why, I don't know what made me do that again, but I did. And in the end, I've ended up making two of my best friends from online, and they are now my real world friends, and one's in Cardiff, and it's great, and it's wonderful. But the second thing, and the more important thing, was that it made me realize who I actually wanted to be. I wanted to be Chris. I wanted to be intelligent and charming and funny and all that sort of stuff. But I realized at that point, or sometime along that point, that maybe I already was that person, I just did not know it. And I've spent the last 10 years trying to become that person. Whether I have now or not, I don't know, but that's my aim. you're probably wondering, how does this feed into my work as an artist and my work as a reviewer? Those who might know what I do as a critic, people have said that some of the stuff I write is quite harsh sometimes, which I can understand, but it's honest. And the reason why it is honest is because I don't have anything holding me back anymore. That was something that held me back as a person, because it was always in the back of my head that if I can't be honest with myself, if I can't be honest with myself, I can't be honest with everybody else. I always say as a critic, I'm never going to write something about you that I wouldn't say to your face. But to have that honesty for people, you have to have that honesty in yourself. And I've learned that, and I think in the last 2 years, one of the reasons why I've developed as an artist and developed as a critic and built the reputation that I have for myself is because there isn't a burden on me anymore. And it's amazing how that personal change in your life can breed such a profound change in your professional life. One of the things I used to say about Chris was that he's somebody that you would want to be friends with, and he's the sort of person that you'd want to date. It's been 10 years and it's been a struggle, and I'm still trying to work myself out, and I'm still trying to work out who I am and where I am and how I exist. But I'd like to think that 10 years now from what happened then, that I am now a funny person, that I am intelligent, that I am charming, that I am opinionated, that I am fucking handsome, and that I'm someone that you'd want to be friends with, that I'm someone you'd want to date. I'm me, and for better or for worse, that's what you have now. You don't have another version of it. What you have is that, and not that. I stand here before you, and and there's a part of me that does still feel ashamed, and I feel empty and raw, and kind of feel like, I don't know how people react to the things that I say. And I'm still lonely, and I'm still depressed, and maybe that will never go away, and maybe it will go away. But whether I'm lonely or depressed or any of those things that make life difficult on a personal and a professional life, I'm now standing here before you an honest and a content person, and that's what matters. Thank you.